Eric, are our
We'll tell Mario.
we're going to call the meeting back to order. Since we have some guests that are out of town and then are here from out of town and have to catch return flights, we're going to go forward on the agenda, and we'll go to item 4.2 to discuss, to recognize some great programs within our district and innovations within our system. And I wanted to go to the Board Energy and Sustainability Award Program recognition. So, Chancellor.
President Baum and board members, the next item is a presentation of the 2016 Board of Governors Excellence in Energy and Sustainability Awards. The selected programs and projects represent the most innovative and highly effective efforts across California community colleges in the areas of energy efficiency and sustainability. By recognizing these programs, the board lifts them up to serve as models for other colleges. So I'm looking forward to hearing about these projects, and to present the item is Vice Chancellor Mario Rodriguez.
President Baum, Vice President Solano, members of the board, Interim Chancellor Skinner. Today we'll kind of go over these awards. What we're going to be doing is we'll have the awardees, as I start mentioning their names, we'll have them come up for a photo and to accept their award, but also a photo with board leadership and Interim Chancellor Skinner. So we'll kind of start running through these quickly. 2 colleges will be awarded as winners for the best overall project, one for the large district category and one for the small district category. In addition, 1 award will be given for the retrofit project category. Honorable mention awards will be given at a later date, but they'll be mentioned today as well. Now for the awards. The winner for the best overall project in the large district category is Santiago Canyon College for their interior lighting LED retrofit. Accepting this award is Vice President Arlene Sattel of Santiago Canyon College and Assistant Vice Chancellor Carrie Matsumoto for the Rancho Santiago Community College District. Santiago Canyon College performed an interior lighting LED retrofit in multiple buildings. The college replaced over 3,000 outdated T8 linear fluorescent fixtures in several campus buildings with LED retrofit kits. The college saw a reduction of more than 550,000 kilowatts annually and 203 kilowatts with a subsequent energy bill reduction of over $115,000 annually. Additionally, construction of this project created over 2,300 hours of employment in the community. The winner for the best overall project in the small district category is Solano Community College Fairfield campus for their exterior lighting retrofit. Accepting this award is Director James Buchanan and electrician Richard Cross. Solano Community College Fairfield campus removed aged exterior metal halide and high-pressure sodium lighting fixtures and replaced them with new LED technology. The district will see a yearly reduction of at least 440,000 kilowatt hours with the subsequent energy bill reduction of almost $40,000 annually. In addition, this project generated 760 hours of employment within the community. The winner for the Proposition 39 retrofit project is Long Beach City College for their HVAC zone and fan static pressure reset. Accepting this award is Vice President Anne Marie Gable, Deputy Director Mefine Ephraim, and Trustee Doug Otto. Long Beach City College implemented a central plant optimization project at their liberal arts campus, Pacific Coast campus chiller plants. The district will see a yearly reduction of 713 kilowatt hours and 155 kilowatts, with the subsequent energy bill reduction of almost $92,000 from this project. The winner of the Faculty Staff Initiative Award is Butte College's Math, Engineering, Science Achievement, or MESA program. The program director is Maria Elena Nene Aguiano, and a few of her fellow students will be accepting this award. Director Aguiano. She is the visionary behind the success and the stabilization efforts of Butte College's MESA program and has worked to implement nearly a dozen grant-funded research project, education, and outreach programs, invaluable internships opportunities to benefit her students. Her efforts have not only given her community huge benefits in science and technology education, but have also had a tremendous positive impact in the field of sustainability and energy efficiency. We have a few honorable mentions. I'll just run through very quickly. The best honorable mention for the best overall project in the large district category is Las Positas for their HVAC retrofit project. The overall project in the small district category is Hartnell College for their campus-wide exterior and area LED lighting retrofits, and for the Prop 39 retrofit, the Cypress College for their interior lighting retrofits. Congratulations to the winners. And so the final is the Sustainability Champion. This year's Sustainability Champion Award goes to an individual who has performed a remarkable job moving their district towards greater sustainability and energy achievement. As Director of Facilities Planning and Management, he has overseen numerous innovative projects amid reducing energy usage and associated greenhouse gas emissions of the district's multiple campuses. Under his leadership and guidance, the district has implemented complex monitoring-based commissioning projects, as well as large-scale photovoltaic solar generation projects. The efforts of he and his team have thus far led to hundreds of thousands of dollars in energy and maintenance cost savings annually, with future plans to ensure the district remains one of the most sustainable community colleges in the system. In addition, he has been a leader among his peers in the area of energy efficiency as a longtime member of the California Community Colleges Investor-Owned Utility Energy Efficiency Partnership Management Team, and as a founder of the Far North Facilities Officer Summits. With his demonstrated success in fostering sustainability at the local, regional, and state levels, he has demonstrated himself as worthy of the Sustainability Champion for 2016. This year's Sustainability Champion Award goes to Director Ken Albright of Butte Community College District. And Ken also recently announced his retirement, so best of luck to Ken. And now you can fish 7 days a week. So thanks to all of our winners, and thank you to the board for these recognitions.
As we're settling down, let me just say, I think I've been on the board for 3 years. This is one of my favorite awards that we do, and partly because this is about the community colleges really setting a standard for the future. Each one of these awardees have gone above and beyond what they needed to do. They've taken a program, Prop 39, which was about green jobs, and set a whole new standard for it. So you've heard about the actual improvements they've made, but there have also, as Mario was reading out these, the number of jobs created, the hours, the training, the apprenticeship hours that have gone into each of these programs. So it's not only just achieving energy efficiency retrofits or green energy, but it's also about training a workforce and an industry of the future that California will lead in principally because of the community colleges in our state. So thank you very much for participating, and thank you for your leadership.
Thank you very much. I'm delighted we're able to offer recognition for these model programs as well. Any other board members wish to comment? Okay, we'll pick back up where we left off on the budget consideration of the budget. Before we go on to member comments, I have member Epstein, Hawkins, and Belensky, but member Haynes came up to me and she wanted to make a statement about her motion.
So on consideration, I want to withdraw my second. and I'll just give you my reason. Our staff really puts a lot of time, energy, and work with other constituency groups in developing this particular budget. And in addition, it's one thing to kind of tweak it with $1 million here, but the two items that is actually doubling those items on the budget, and as a trustee, that's a huge amount of money to have sort of disseminated in 1 year. It's astronomical. And then finally, it sets a precedent. At every budget, someone will come up, every one of these issues is important to community colleges. And so this is a budget in which we have to sort of make choices within it. And so that's the reason why I'm withdrawing my second.
So before we then move on, I did want to raise a couple of issues and see where we want to take this. We do have a motion on the floor. I would have to say the motion as it was presented, I couldn't support, and I think it's important for the system to speak with a united voice when it comes to speaking to the legislature and to the governor. And I wanted to give Member Conway, who's been in the Capitol as one of the Big Five, to just offer her perspective before, and we could see where we might take this so that we could still express our priorities, but also do something that would also make sure that we have an effective voice when we advocate in the Capitol.
Okay, assume I'm on. I was going to say thank you, but I'm not sure. I should be thanking you. And certainly Ms. Haynes, and certainly our Mario for being informal. Know and understand this process and the painstaking process that it is. And just my opinion, it's never the same. When someone mentioned categoricals, I mean, gosh, at one point, Governor Brown, some people were freaking out because he was, going to wipe out the categoricals. And of course, I have found myself in the past advocating for that somewhat, in as much as, Governor, just give us what you're going to give us and then let us figure out how to, where we want to put that. So if that were the case, if we were just looking at a set number that we could assign, then I think the board it'd be fine to have the board's priorities, like we want to put more over here for veterans, or, how does this all fold together? At this point, the budget is probably a done deal. I don't know if we're behind I don't know if we have an opportunity to go in and change it. The time for advocacy is, of course, when they're doing it, but then again, you don't get that opportunity all the time. I remember complimenting the governor once, Governor Brown, and telling him that the governor was obviously the adult in the room, because he recognized, at least admitted, that we had debt. And he thanked me for that. I did tell him, well, before you thank me too much, I have to tell you, Governor, I was just on Bay Area radio, and I said I thought you were channeling your inner Republican. And and he proceeded to tell me a very long story about in 1948 when the family was Republican, but that's okay. It's another story. And so my concern is that are we too late to be changing the priorities? Do we want to get, be careful what you ask for, I guess, is how I look at it, because there's just so many people fighting for the same dollar. And if we have been allocated this, if this is what we have, and the process, it's painstaking to get anything. I'm not afraid to stand up for something that's obviously important to the Board of Governors, but it is a living document in some respects. So how do we get to that sweet spot that makes sense for everybody? As I looked at it, I was actually asking Colonel Summers, because I guess I don't understand the budget process completely here. When that's for the veteran service centers, but do the veterans, are they eligible for other pots of money? Mm-hmm. New students, entry students. I'd hate to lose this allocation that we have at this point by changing our priorities if they've already been set. That's just my perspective. And then there's always someone that's going to disagree with whatever it is we say.
I was asking the Chancellor a couple weeks ago, we're asking for 700+ million now, but we're actually an $8 billion state system, so it's not like this is all the money that is being allocated to the system. What is the size of the overall budget? And then what would you recommend to the board if you hear additional priorities that the board cares about, and how should we go about achieving them, whether it comes to hunger and homelessness, more support for Veterans Resource Centers, more support for mental health, more support for professional development?
Well, Member Baum, that as you point out, the colleges are funded through state general fund and local property taxes at over $1 billion a year, and so the request that's on the table is just short of about a 10% increase in funding, and I think it is important to have that context in perspective. That's a pretty healthy increase, and realistically, we won't get this full amount, and the amount we get will be driven off of the change in the Proposition 98 minimum guarantee. Yeah. That's the history on this. So in a lot of ways, I think what's important about this document, and let me be clear, it's the board's request, so it's your prerogative to shape this how you want. But I think what's important about it is putting priorities on the table. And this is a beginning of a conversation with the governor, with the legislature about next year's budget. And I would urge some caution on this in terms of, and I think both President Baum and Member Haynes alluded to it, but is this issue of the fact that there's been a deliberative process that's gone into crafting this proposal. And Vice Chancellor Rodriguez has overseen that in collaboration with a lot of system stakeholders, other staff in the Chancellor's office, other Vice Chancellors. It's been a thoughtful process. A lot of time has gone into these meetings. The proposal has come to the board for your review once before. And now, after that careful process, to have significant changes at the 11th hour, I'll just be blunt, I think it sends a message that our process isn't thoughtful. I think it sends a process that the work that our staff does is not respected. And I think it invites end runs in future years for stakeholders to come and work the board to have last-minute adjustments. And I don't think that politicization of the process is healthy. I'm just being forthright, and that at the end of the day, it's your request, and you can do what you want with it. But my counsel would be to work within the confines of what's included, and if there's some nibbling around the edges, that's one thing. But these are pretty substantial changes that are on the table, and I think it's a matter of some concern.
Is there a strategic direction you could provide the board as to make a statement about those additional investments that could be suggested?
So again, if you understand that this document is primarily one of stating priorities, there are already some healthy priorities indicated around mental health, around veteran centers, and around professional development. All three of those items are included in the budget proposal. From a practical matter, that's the most important thing. As Mario engages with state leaders on the budget, those issues are in play. The specific dollar amount is going to vary based on a lot of factors. Is the governor interested? Is the legislature interested? Where's the Proposition 98 guarantee? There are a lot of factors that are going to drive that conversation. The important thing is that they're on the table. And so I would urge you to rest assured that those priorities are strongly stated in this document. And again, my advice would be to hold back from making these substantial changes in dollar amounts at the 11th hour, because I do think it sends the wrong message.
If I could follow up on what I said.
Member Sumner, then Member Conway.
I totally understand, what you're saying. So my question, Mario, is, right, we're being, I guess, told, how much money over the last couple of years has been allocated specifically for veterans from the budget? How much, just specific to veteran centers?
From our budget? None.
Yeah.
Well,
None directly with a specific line item to it. Our office has held webinars and on effective uses of student equity dollars to support veterans resource centers. The veterans are a called out category in student equity plans now. That's something that wasn't done prior to 3 years ago. Now, both of those answers are ultimately get us to where we're at today, which is not all campuses offer it, and many of the ones that do don't offer the highest level of it. But that's the.
So what I'm hearing is that most of the campuses they fund their own, they get it through grant money or, so that's what I've heard from a lot of the event centers. And I appreciate when we want to give more. I love the fact that there's that amount, but as far as the oversight, I would love to make sure we have more oversight where this money is going to go, because if there's no money that's ever been really truly allocated just for veterans, I mean, this in itself is huge, but it has to be allocated correctly, based on the needs and things like that. So, yes, I would love to get tons of money, but I also understand politics, but it's just that we're going from having nothing being given to something being given, but we have to have the correct oversight with the veteran centers that are already there and the VCRs, working with the mental health, because this all ties together, like Pamela's saying, we need to do better, and I would love to be on another, here I'm volunteering again, but I just really see, I see a veteran, I see mental health, I see the education, I see all of it working together. So with this funding and money, I just really want to see us have good oversight over this funding and money. I don't know.
Member Conway?
Well, I think it's healthy to have this conversation for, budgets going forward. This board is probably in place and will stay the same for at least a few years. But we will have the same governor, but you will have a different legislature. And probably most of the staff will remain stable, and you could really speak to this yourself, having been on the other side, which is why I love this. But you will have a change in the legislature, so it is important for us to state our priorities and say, this is where we're at, and this is what we think, and then after November, you have to see what you're going to get as a legislature and try to figure out what their priorities are, besides themselves, and see how you can, work with them at that point. The bottom line, though, is the governor and the governor's staff. He's the controller.
We want to speak with a voice that will be effective. Vice President Estolano, I think Member Haynes, and then Member Perry.
So it's important to know how this plays this year. So in my recollection, this is the first time that we've called out a line item for a Veterans Resource Center as well as mental health. I think every year we've put in professional development, and every year it's been swatted down. I think we've done $12 million last year, and you only see the last 2 budget years, but we I'm looking at Julie Bruin, we always try, right, and it gets swatted down. So it's important to note that the statement that's being made by the budget as proposed by the Chancellor's office is a very significant statement about our priorities, because we've never said any money set aside for Veterans Resource Centers or for mental health. And I remember last year, members of the Student Senate coming forth asking us to pay attention to mental health. And so I think this is a great response from the staff. So having said that, I am comfortable with the proposal as set forth by the Chancellor's office. I still want my $5 million in for hunger because it's not very much. It's around the edges. And again, this is about priorities. And there's a lot of resonance that has right now because of the reports that have come out. And if Cal State is experiencing this problem, the problem on our campuses is much deeper. So if we can do anything to help lead the way and help our campuses address this very important issue of hunger, the lack of showers for folks who are sleeping in their cars because they don't have a roof over their heads, I think $5 million is a pretty small amount of money, and it might spark a fire in the legislature to do more when it comes to appropriations into the budget. So procedurally where we are is the main motion, which had been seconded, there had been 2 friendly amendments. One was to accept my $5 million amendment. The second friendly amendment was the additional $100 million and that had been accepted as a friendly amendment, and the seconder had agreed to that. With the seconder having withdrawn her motion on the main motion, we lack a second. So procedurally, if folks want to change this, that motion can die for lack of the second, and a new motion can be made. Procedurally, that would be the way to move forward. Where's our
Thank you
general
for being
counsel?
our parliamentarian.
Correct?
Yeah, so.
Thank you.
So we're still working through some board member comments and then decide how we want to proceed procedurally. Member Haynes, Member Perry, then Member Khan.
I'll pass because everything's been stated from my
Member Perry?
perspective.
I, in essence, wanted to underscore Vice President Estolano's point, which is, you're right, if this is a recognition of or a statement of our priorities, I think we should specifically state that one of our priorities moving forward is to address food insecurity and homelessness. We talked about it so many times as being a significant impediment to student progress, as much as basic skills, or arguably more in some instances. So I think we need to recognize that in some way, shape, or form. I would take the council, your council and the Chancellor's council as to if we bring the amount down, if that makes it more palatable, as long as we are making that statement that we think this is an issue we need to address moving forward.
Member Khan, and then Member Avalos.
So briefly, I really have three things to point out. The first one is this. 1 in 10 UC students is homeless. 1 in 5 deals with food crises. We have 2.3 million students. They have 250,000. So if you magnify that issue and apply it to our system, the numbers are impossible to even imagine. We don't even have a way to calculate that today. So the second thing I want to mention is that our system partners in the form of the UCs and CSUs have already taken necessary steps to address this. We haven't as a system yet, so putting this on our budget requests sends a great message. The third thing is a homeless student from our system put forth a bill that's now sitting at the governor's desk regarding giving homeless students the ability to shower on their facilities. So I think if one of our students feels empowered enough to work through whatever small constraints he has or abilities to even influence the state legislature, then we have a responsibility as a board to recognize that this is a compelling issue that we need to address. So I fully support Vice President Estolano's move to provide that $5 million, which really is along the fringe. It's not that much, but it sends a clear message about what our priorities are.
Member Avalos.
I just want to make this last comment from my perspective is that I remember 3 years ago when I first came on the board, I think we're having more conversation now than we ever did at that meeting. That meeting just flew right over our heads because a lot of us were new and we just like, okay, that's great. Last year, I called out certain things and, we enacted it, right? And then the governor's budget came out, his proposal. It was very different than what we enacted. So procedurally, there's something amiss, in my opinion, because what's going to happen, I'm going to say this, it's going to happen this year again. We're going to enact this, and the governor's going to come out with this, and it's going to be very different. Again, we're not aligning. So to me, there is something fundamentally in our process that need to be revisited, because I'd rather be aligned with the governor's budget to begin with, right, to a certain degree. So I'll just leave it there, but I support Member Estolano's perspective of adding $5 million. I don't think that's a big deal. And I also support the Colonel in terms of, $25 million. I mean, we can go to $30 million, and I'm okay with that. So if you think it's 25, let's not stop there. Let's go a little more if you want. I don't think we need to double it, but if we think that's a priority, we should put a little more into it.
Member DeLilly, did you have your hand up? Oh, no, I thought. Okay, what I'd like to do is, if the board would indulge me, though, is take these in sequential motions as opposed to one motion. That way, we will find alignment, and then if we want to go farther, we can go farther. But I would recommend that we vote on the initial recommendation, then we take a vote on, if there's a motion and a second, to Vice President Estolano's recommendation. Then if there are other supplemental motions to make to do that, that's what I would like to see happen. I think that would be an effective way to do it. That would allow us to make our voices heard, but also operate effectively. Member Hawkins.
Thank you. As the maker of one of the motions, but I just have a general comment. We've heard about procedure of the whole process, going out to the field, going out to consultation. While it's a necessary step to do $5 million for Hungary, the field didn't vet that. And that's what we said, that the staff in the field have previously vetted this budget request, yet we can sit here and we can change $5 million or another $5 million, as Member Avalos said, yet The reality is it's a request, and we will always see something different from the seated governor. That's the reality of the community college system such as we're structured. That's not going to change with this request. It was not ill thought out. Every board meeting that we've had for the last 5 years, there has been issues, whether it was called out or not, about mental health issues, about veterans. And we heard even the 10 people today. There's a room, it's a closet. That's not a veteran center, yet it's counted in the 77. So I don't think it's out of line. Again, this is the Board of Governors budget request to the Department of Finance and to the Governor of the state of California. It is ours to change. The field understands that, trust me. They would be running up here and yelling at us right now if they didn't think that that was appropriate. But just for the sake of the board and the rest of the group who I'm hearing, I'll withdraw my motion. Thank you.
Appreciate that. So I'll go to the original original motion, the member who made the motion, Member Belinsky. And so, the original motion was to adopt the budget as recommended, the request of the budget. As presented. Is there a second to that motion?
Second.
Okay, so there's a motion, a second for the initial budget recommendation. Then I'm going to entertain other motions on the supplemental areas that we'd like to add to it. So is there any
Yes.
discussion?
Mr. President, I move an addition of $5 million for a grant program to be designed and implemented that will address high-need areas for basic necessities such as hunger and dealing with the effects of homelessness.
So we have a motion, a second on the initial recommendation. Are you asking for an amendment?
I'm asking
or
for an amendment to the original motion.
And you do not want to see a subsequent motion on that? So
No,
what-
this is my only motion. My amendment is that, single amendment.
What I'm suggesting is that we take up the first one and then take a to add to the initial recommendation. So that, are people following? That,
No, you have an amendment, a proposed amendment. You vote on the amendment. If it is approved, that becomes part of the main motion. Then you go and take further amendments. Procedurally, that's probably the cleanest way to
Right.
proceed.
Well, procedurally, what I was going to suggest is that we adopt the recommended budget proposal, and then
No,
we take a motion.
no.
Okay. I see three of
Because
my
then it gets
members, and I don't want to do that. Okay, we will take them as amendments to the motion. That's how we'll do it. We'll follow that. So, and then you have to take the amendment before you take the final
Correct.
motion, too. So we will take up that one. Is there a second to Member Estolano's motion?
Second.
Okay. Is there further discussion, Member Sumner, on the,
On Solana's, as far as, especially with the whole ITT, with the homeless and things that are going to be coming down, we're addressing current events. And I think that's why that also needs to be addressed with that, because there's going to be a lot more issues that are going to come up with the closures of these schools. And I don't want to be like I'm only for veterans, but the reality is they get their funding and money with going to school. There will be more homeless people, and I'm quite sure the students are taking their head. So I totally support her. Do I need to now also say mine, that I want another $5 million?
well, we're gonna do the amendments sequentially, and then go to the final motion, and so I would ask one question, why 5 million, why not 2.5 million, why not 10 million?
I actually did, I considered 6,850,000, because that would have taken us to a clean $800 million. And I thought and I calculated how much that was per campus, and I decided we wanted to be shy of $800 million, because that was clearly a strategy on your part, to be under $800 million. So then I thought 5 million is a nice round sum, and it's really it's a symbol. It's not a ton of money, but it's enough to actually get some money, about $30,000 per campus.
I trust you're carrying Member Shaw's proxy as well. It's without objection, I would like to go to a vote on the amendment. Is there any objection to proceeding to the vote on the amendment to the motion?
No.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, so now are there
Take abstentions.
any abstentions?
Yes.
Abstention for Member Hawkins. Are there any other amendments that would like to be brought forward?
I would like to make an amendment to add an additional 10 million to the veterans, because there has to be some sustainability, because grant is not the same as what we're going to be needing to really work with these schools, because some like have a closet, like this beautiful campus here has that little room, they need to expand. It needs to be addressed, it needs to be fixed, it needs to be done sooner than later, and I think 10 million with the proper guidance for sustainability, where that money can be put into, whether it's mental health, whether it's, I don't know. I'm quite sure Nancy could get up here and give you numbers and figures why, if you really wanted me to give you,
Yeah, that's fine.
specifics. But she'll talk with you later.
Is there a second
So 10
to
million.
Member Sumner's motion? Second. Okay, a motion by Member Sumner, a second by Member Hawkins. There is there discussion? I do want to just say for the and that would be going from $25 to $35 million for veteran services. I do want to say for the record, and my longtime colleague I saw in the back here, Tana Thomas, was on the Board of Governors. I believe Member Belinsky and Member Hawkins were also around when the Board of Governors has long advocated for increased support for veterans. When I started, there was very little support for veterans, and now we're up to 70 districts that have veteran service centers. There's a veteran summit every year for people who work with veterans. It's not as though, even though it hasn't been funded in our budget request, it hasn't been that the system hasn't advocated strenuously. I also think there's a huge role that the federal government could play in providing financial support to local districts that are providing these services. So, so when I vote against that, you'll say it's not because of lack of support for veterans support. Is there any further discussion on the proposed amendment?
I need a clarification.
Yes.
Who are we crediting the second on Cecilia's?
Member
motion?
who's
On Cecilia's.
on Cecilia's? It was
Sumner.
Member Sumner.
Okay, thank you.
Any further discussion? Okay, all those in favor? Member Epstein?
I'm just going to pitch this idea. I would feel more comfortable supporting this if it was 5 million additional rather than 10 million, and I just wanted to know if you would accept that as a friendly amendment.
And I would too.
Can I make a point? So I was just running numbers on 35 million by campus, 113. It was $309,000 per campus. So right now, as it stands at 25 million, it's 221 million per campus. So just give perspective of what we're saying.
Because it's also based on how many veterans you have at each college. But I mean, if for right now, I mean, I would go with the 5 million, because I just think it's really important. There's just so many things that we need to do with it, since we haven't had a budget for, now we're starting with something. And I agree with you that we need to get more support from the government and more things we need to do.
Okay, for the purpose of the sausage making of this,
5
if
million.
Member Hawkins goes along with it, I could be persuaded to increase our support for veterans.
I'll accept the friendly amendment.
265,000.
So then we will go to a vote now. I think we can have a unanimous vote. All those in favor of the amendment, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Now we will move to the vote on the final budget proposal with the addition of support for homeless students and an additional support for veterans. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
I abstain.
On which, on
The main.
the main? Abstention by Member Avalos. Are there any other abstentions? Carries without opposition. Thank you very much, Chancellor, and thank you very much, Vice Chancellor. Appreciate
You have Member Perry over here.
and we're counting on your advocating for this aggressively and coming back successfully with the legislature.
Absolutely.
Yes. We're now going to go on to item, and I appreciate the board. I think one last thing I'm just going to say is I agree with Member Avalos. This is actually the role of this Board of Governors, is to really have active dialogue on priorities, and it's so important for us to have these open, transparent conversations so that that the population can see that we wrestle with these issues and we care deeply about them. And so I appreciate Member Hawkins for his advocacy, Member Belinsky, and everybody else who raised some of these issues. Item 4.3, update on the Compton Center. Chancellor.
Thank you, President Baum. Members of the board, the next item is an update on progress
Moving around.
at the Compton Center. This is on page 111 of your agenda. It's item 4.3. Since Compton College lost its accreditation in 2005, a tremendous amount of effort has gone into stabilizing the situation. Partners at the state and local levels, including personnel at the campus, at the center, at El Camino College, special trustees, the Chancellor's Office, the Department of Finance, and elected officials. Many agencies and individuals have been involved in this work to develop a path forward for students and the community. Initially, the work focused on preserving access to higher education for the surrounding community. And in time, the work shifted to rebuilding the academic and administrative capacity so that one day, Compton College can once again exist as an accredited, independent institution. We're fortunate to have with us today many of the key players who have dedicated themselves to this endeavor. To introduce them and to introduce the item and the other presenters is Vice Chancellor for College Finance, Mario Rodriguez.
President Baum, Vice President Solano, members of the board, Interim Chancellor Skinner. Today we're going to be discussing the substantial progress that's been made at the Compton Center over the past decade. We're going to have kind of two panels today. We're going to have, I'll give a brief background on what led up to the termination of accreditation to the Compton Center about a decade ago. I'll cover that very briefly, and then we have Michael Fine, the Chief Administrative Officer for FCMAT, the Fiscal Crisis and Management Assistance Team, and we have Diane Branham, who's the Chief Management Analyst. And they're going to walk you through what progress is made over the past decade at the Compton College. And we're going to celebrate a little success today on a major milestone that we're accomplishing that's taken basically a decade to get there. And then we're going to have a panel of the CEOs from both the Compton College Center, or Compton Center, and also El Camino College, Community College District, as well as our state special trustee, Tom Henry, to walk through the accreditation process and then kind of the next steps for the college. So for some background, if you'll remember about it, in early 2000s, Compton Community College District had begun to show signs of fiscal insolvency. And what that led to ultimately was the accrediting commission putting them on show cause and then ultimately removing their accreditation in 2005. While that process was playing out, and shortly after the notification that their accreditation would be terminated, the legislature, Senator Dimely, passed AB 318, and what that bill did was it required Compton to come down from being a college to becoming a center and partnering with the district for the educational and accreditation purposes. Compton, and it also removed the board at Compton and inserted a state special trustee. One key element of AB 318 was a process of review that the Fiscal Crisis and Management Assistant Team would do, which would be an annual review in 5 major operational areas. And so I'll hand it off to Diane and Michael to kind of walk you through the substantial progress that's been made over the past decade in those 5 key operational areas.
Thank you. Good afternoon. Mr. President, Madam Vice President, members of the board, and Chancellor. This is a presentation that I think, as the Vice Chancellor has indicated, is a celebration in many respects, and so we're pleased to be part of that. The state's Fiscal Crisis and Management Assistance Team was created by the legislature through AB 1200 in 1992. It originally focused on K-12 school districts following the bankruptcy of what was then known as Richmond Unified. And over time, our roles have been expanded in the arenas of charter schools, and then certainly pertinent today for community college districts. Our main focus with all of our clients and the industry that we serve is assisting them with regard to fiscal accountability standards and ultimately solvency, and maintaining solvency, or regaining, in this case, solvency. We are an independent external agency of the state, and that may seem awkward. We don't know quite how to describe ourselves sometimes from day to day, but we are actually external to the Department of Finance, to the Department of Education, to the Chancellor's Office, et cetera, and that's really to have independence from those bodies and to be able to do our work and make our recommendations as we do across the state without those influences. As the Vice Chancellor has indicated, pertinent to our discussion around Compton, Community College District is Assembly Bill 318, and it starts with, begins our role by asking us to do a comprehensive assessment of the district in the fall of 2006, which we did, so a decade ago, and to develop a recovery plan in 5 operational areas. And those areas are academic achievement, personnel management, facilities management, financial management, and community relations and governance. And we have conducted periodic comprehensive assessments since 2006, for the most part on an annual basis, and completed written status reports on Compton Community College District's progress in implementing the recommendations that were made in our initial review and recovery plan that was released in the spring of '07. So I have the easy part of today's 2-panel discussion, and that's simply that, the simplicity of that introduction. I'll turn it over to my colleague, Diane, who's our point person at Compton.
Good afternoon. As part of our comprehensive assessment process, FCMAT developed legal and professional standards. As Mike said, we used those initially with K-12 school districts, and we endeavored to work with the ACCJC standards to assimilate them and make our standards cohesive for Community College District. In doing so, we want to make clear that our assessment is separate and aside from the ACCJC's accreditation. So it's a completely separate review, so we're here to talk about FCMAT's review today. And each of our standards are scored on a scale of 0 to 10. And we created that baseline in 2006 when we did the initial review. And then each year we go back, take a look at those same standards, and make a rating determination on the progress that Compton has made since the prior review period. When the average rating reaches a 6 in each operational area, each of the 5 operational areas, and no standard is scored below a 4, then FCMAT stopped reviewing that particular operational area. So just to give you a quick summary, personnel management, the initial review that was released in April of 2007, 36 of those 40 standards were below a 4. And in order for the district to show progress again, substantial progress so that we no longer reviewed, they had to have 0 of those standards below a 4 and at least an average of 6 in the operational area. And not only that, but they had to maintain that for 2 consecutive academic years. So as of our 6th review in June of 2012, the district had done that. They had 0 standards less than a 4, and their rating was over an 8. So they made that progress, and we stopped reviewing personnel at that time. Academic achievement, with our initial review, 40 of the 41 standards were below a 4. And the overall score was around a 1.5. On our 7th progress review in 2013, no standards were below a 4, and the district scored an average of about 7 in that operational area. And again, they had maintained that for 2 consecutive academic years. So we stopped reviewing academic achievement at that point. We had 3 areas left: facilities, finance, and community relations and governance. And we really started to see great improvement in those areas when the district had consistent leadership, consistent, strong leadership. It's been a joy to watch that progress take place. So in our, we hope to be final review in 2016, facilities management, which had started with 28 of 40 standards scoring below a 4, 0 standards are now below a 4, and they rate at over an 8 overall in that operational area. Finance, they started back in 2007 with 35 standards of 41 that were less than a 4. So you can see there was a lot of progress that needed to be made. And this year, happy to report that they're scoring over a 7 in that operational area with no standards below a 4. And then the last of the areas, community relations and governance. Again, through the leadership and guidance of the state special trustee and the provost CEO of Compton, they have made substantial strides, we believe, with the governing board, or with the elected board. 17 of the 21 standards were originally under a 4, and they had about a 2 rating, 2.1 rating. As of this year, 0 standards are under a 4, and they have an 8.5. In community relations and governance. So as you can see, they've made great strides and great improvement over the last decade. So just in summary, personnel management, we stopped reviewing that in the 6th year, academic achievement in the 7th, and then with this review period, our 10th review period, all the other 3 operational areas have met our required ratings in all 5 operational areas as prescribed in Assembly Bill 318.
So if the folks from FCMAT will still be around, but we'd like to bring up the next panel now.
I guess I will start first. President Baum, Vice President Estolano, and Interim Chancellor Skinner. I'm Dina Maloney, and I am the Superintendent President at El Camino College. You have to forgive me, I'm fighting a cold. It's a real pleasure to be here today. Thank you so much for having us on your agenda. I'm going to talk a little bit about the partnership that exists between El Camino College and the Compton District. AB 318 provided for really 3 things. One was an emergency loan so that the Compton District could continue to operate. Another one was the fiscal recovery plan, which you just heard about. And the third element was really to identify, thank you so much, a partnering district that would offer accredited programs to the residents in the Compton District and work with the Compton District to develop an accredited center / moving on to then an accredited college that could be moved back under the purview of the Compton District. And so for the last 10 years, El Camino College has been that partnering college that has worked with the Compton District toward that goal. Accredited programs have been in place and have been offered through a center established by El Camino College on the Compton District campus. Kind of an unusual arrangement, but it is working very well. Students are getting access to education, students are graduating, students are transferring, students are earning degrees and certificates. And at the same time, we're working very closely with the Compton District on the steps toward accreditation. And there are some prescribed steps that have to take place in order to meet accreditation standards and go through this process. I'm very happy to tell you that last year, the first step, which was eligibility, was granted to the Compton Center. Eligibility means that you meet the basic 21 eligibility requirements and standards for initial eligibility. Following that, we're now working on a self-evaluation report and an application for candidacy, which will be submitted in January of 2017. And that includes a site visit from a visiting team. And we hope that candidacy would be then conferred following that, probably over the summer. Following that, then is the application for initial accreditation as a college. And then that is a prescribed process, 2 to 4 years. Once that is accomplished and there is an accredited college under El Camino, then we would submit a substantive change proposal to ACCJC and move that college back to the authority and the purview of the Compton District. So again, accreditation is a separate process from the FCMAT process, but good progress being made with accreditation. The partnership has a formal agreement. It outlines and delineates the responsibilities of the Compton District and the El Camino District. It's working very well, and we're excited at the progress that's being made. Would you like to add to that?
Yeah, Keith Curry, Provost, CEO, El Camino College Compton Center, and also Compton Community College District. I'd like to say thank you to Mr. President, and also Vice President, and also Interim Chancellor Eric Skinner, and also the Board of Governors. Before I begin my brief comments, I do want to say thank you to all the faculty, staff, and administration at the Compton Center and the Compton District, and also with our partnering district of El Camino College. This is a historic moment. I've been working at Compton Community College District since 2005, and to be at this point where we have satisfied the requirements of AB 318 and as it relates to our FCMAT requirements, but we're also moving forward towards accreditation for the Compton Center. And I think the people there should be congratulated for all their work, because if you look at what happened in 2005, to be the first college accreditation revoked, and to be where we're at now, we're basically dead. And to be able to rise back up, that's a huge accomplishment. And I do want to say thank you to all the faculty and staff and administrators who are watching this presentation back in Compton. But as we move forward, we're continuing to work on our self-evaluation as rates for accreditation. The faculty and staff are working extremely hard as we move forward for our visit scheduled for March 6th through the 9th of 2017. I'm very confident that our self-evaluation report will be completed on time. We're currently editing the draft of that document right now. The faculty and staff are meeting once a month on Fridays, but also through the individual teams we have working on our self-evaluation report. I also want to comment as it relates to our self-evaluation report. We are participating in the Institutional Effectiveness Partnership Initiative with the Chancellor's Office. Hopefully we receive our $200,000 seed grant in the coming weeks. But we've been working with the IEPI for the last year as it relates to our integrated planning process at the Compton Center. And we're very excited about that, because we're actually looking at our program review process and our planning and how we can do a more efficient job of linking our planning to our budgeting. I do want to say thank you to the Chancellor's Office for that. Also, I want to say thank you to the Chancellor's Office as it relates to the work that's been done in facilities. Most people that know me, if I get an opportunity to talk about the Compton Center, and as Doug Houston talked about the rural colleges, I do have to talk about facilities at Compton, because facilities brings hope. If you look at what has been done as it relates to facilities at Compton, we just opened a $13.1 million allied health facility for our nursing program. We just opened a new cosmetology program on our campus, a brand new facility that just opened on August 15th, 2016. And we're moving forward to open a new little theater, a music building project, about $3.1 million, will be open in December. But the big project we're working on with the Chancellor's Office, and we received funding for a new instructional building, one, which will demolish one half of our row buildings. We have buildings on our campus that were built in 1953. They're cold in the wintertime, hot in the summertime, because we're dealing with HVAC issues. We'll be able to build a brand new $17 million facility for our humanities program. And so really excited about that project and been working very closely with the Chancellor's Office. One thing I do want to highlight in regards to the district and our FCMAT report, look at the finances of the district. We went from 26 audit findings in 2011 to 0 audit findings 2 consecutive years. I don't know how many districts can say that. 26 for the last 2 years, 0 audit findings. Then we have clean financials and clean financial books. But we've also been able to put money aside for future obligations, such as our OPEB, our other post-employee benefits liability. We have an irrevocable trust. We've also put aside money to our PERS and STIRS irrevocable trust for the district. We have approximately $1.2 million by the end of this year. And we've also been able to pay down our line of credit. We have a line of credit under AB 318, Assembly Bill 318, which provided money for the district. We borrowed $17.9 million. We have not borrowed from that fund since 2011. And of that fund, we still owe $12 million. In the state budget for this year, it included refinancing of our loan, which will save us $1 million over the term of the loan. That loan is still due till 2028 through 2029. So our goal is to pay down the debt. This year, in our budget, we increased our payment by $500,000 to pay down the debt. We have made a conscious effort to pay down the debt for Compton Community College District. And that concludes my report.
Just a quick comment. That's hard to follow. President Baum, Vice President Estolano, and Interim Chancellor Skinner, Board of Governor members. Tom Henry, I'm your special trustee at the Compton Community College District. I was initially assigned there in 2006 and then back again in 2011. I just wanted to thank you, Board of Governors, and the leadership of the Chancellor's staff and the Chancellor specifically for your courage and your leadership and your support of me personally, as well as the other special trustees at Compton Community College Districts. It's made a huge difference. You can see from my colleagues how positive they feel and I feel about the progress that's been made, and we absolutely expect that that will continue. Thank you for your support.
Great, so the work continues. We have 3 issues that over the next period of time that we have to kind of accomplish. The first one is AB 318, well, it removed the board immediately and allowed the state to, or the Board of Governors to insert a special trustee. It said, it stipulated a process of concurrence that once all parties agree, the Governor's Office, the Department of Finance, the Chancellor, the special trustee, and FCMAT, once they concur that they have made substantial progress and they have met those metrics that the people from FCMAT discussed, that we will all concur, and the local board will then regain authority once again. We have to work through that process. We also have to work on revising this partnership agreement. The partnership agreement is what, this is a very unique situation where there's a community college district that's being funded that doesn't receive, that's not accredited. They're kind of borrowing, for lack of a better word, the accreditation from another district. So they're intertwined, yet there's 2 different governing boards. And so the partnership agreement is very important to ensure that there's a successful kind of collaborative environment that takes place. So getting that right's of the utmost importance. So we're working on that right now. And also, we're working on ensuring there's a process to wean off the district from the, having a special trustee that replaces the board. There's a process to go through that is a kind of a best practice that's practiced on the K-12 side, and we've seen a similar process with San Francisco, where you take it from the full trustee back down to a trustee with stay and rescind power, back down to kind of a special advisor. It's not best practice just to stop that at one day and then remove the state in its entirety. And then also there's a lot of players involved. Obviously the state, the Department of Finance, has an interest in making sure that that loan, that $15 million or so is repaid, and so they want to have an interest in that. Locally elected officials want to know the plan, and so there's a lot of work before us, but I think what today is mostly about is we've had a lot of success. It's taken a decade. It's longer than any of us wanted to be in there, but we're on the right path, and a few more years from now, this should be a fully accredited institution. So with that, open it up to...
Thank you, Rim. Before we go to board member questions, we do have a member of the public that wishes to address the board on this
We
topic.
have 2, Rashid Yaye and Timothy Killikelly.
Thank you, Mr. President, Madam Vice President, and Interim Chancellor, and members of the Board of Governors for letting me speak. My name is Rashid Yahi. I'm the President of Compton Federation of Employees, AFT Local 3486. Before I begin, we want to tell the members of the board that the faculty supports the process of reinstating the Compton Community College Board. First, the good news, physically Compton is strong. We heard from FCMAT about all the progress we made. Faculty have recently gotten a much needed raise. Construction of few facilities continues. We continue to make progress towards applying for reaccreditation with ACCJC. But all is not well at Compton. Although we are doing everything to please the ACCJC, according to the agency, we'll still have to wait another 10 years for our accreditation. We are not sure how much of the work we have done for the ACCJC is even necessary given that the days are numbered. The big problem is that ACCJC and the problem that they have caused continue to bedevil us. 10 years later, an even bigger problem is that our administration does not acknowledge in any way that the statewide crisis of confidence with ACCJC. They tell us just to keep working towards accreditation without any contingency plan whatsoever. In addition, this same administration, which is also devoted to the ACCJC, intends to lay off teachers this year. Our CEO and our Vice President of Academic Affairs from El Camino College do not think Compton students need any full-time instructors for the departments of Administration of Justice, Fire and Emergency Technology, Anthropology, Philosophy, Fashion, Child Development, Astronomy, Physics, Foreign Language, Contemporary Health, Computer Information System, Business, Office Administration, Recreation, and Machine Tool Technology. I would like to I would like to draw your attention to the fact that the Vice President of Academic Affairs at Compton Center is hired by El Camino College and is creating apparent conflict of interest by opening more slots for students in those programs in the Torrance of El Camino College campus. Perhaps our college serves students demographic deemed to unimportant by ACCJC. What else? Perhaps the extraordinary destruction we are undergoing. With the clean bill of financial health, we should be on the fast track to restoring our accreditation and strengthening, not eliminating our programs.
Thank you, Mr. Yai.
Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Killikelly.
Yes, hello. I'm Tim Killikelly, president of AFT 2121, City College of San Francisco. I'm here to support our brothers and sisters at Compton Community College, and we support the restoring of the power of the board. We at City College, as you know, we understand also what has happened with the ACCJC and how that's really the underlying issue that really needs to be addressed further by the board. I read that Compton will not, until 2019 or 2021, they'll only then be able to apply for accreditation. This seems problematic. This is very consistent with what we also saw in the ACCJC's response to Workgroup 1, where they said, the ACCJC would consider significant changes to its standards and processes when it next undertakes a review of standards, which is likely in about 7 to 10 years. There was also recently, in that same work group response, the ACCJC response, they've also changed one of their policies about visiting teams. They will not be making recommendations on accreditation anymore. And at City College of San Francisco, since they're coming in October, we find this both curious and frightening. As you may know, in 2012, the visiting team voted 14-0 to give City College probation, and we would have dealt with that. Instead, the commission gave us show cause, created the crisis that we're in today. The reason they gave was this will, quote, get rid of any perceived inconsistencies. Yes, it's very easy to get rid of inconsistencies when you don't ask anybody else what they think. Then you don't have anybody to contradict you. So the Board of Governors really needs to think about what its actions are, and it needs to take actions in a way that is going to deal with issues for Compton and for City College of San Francisco, and it needs to take actions in a timely manner. The delays, and we keep hearing about more delays, it's only going to lead to more crisis that you're going to have to be dealing with. It's better to deal with it now. It's not just going to go away on its own. Thank you very much.
I have no other speaker cards.
Thank you. We'll open it up to members of the board for questions or comments. Vice President Estolano. Member Belinsky.
I'm not sure if this would go to, I think to Chancellor Skinner. On the accreditation question, I too was curious about that timeline. It struck me as that taking an inordinate amount of time if we have 2 clean years of FCMAC in a row. I know this is a very long and deliberative process, but it seemed excessive that they couldn't even begin to apply for initial accreditation until 2019 or 2021. And so could you help us understand that, or somebody who could talk about accreditation?
Yeah, I think I'll probably end up kicking it back to the panel here, but I think, both President Maloney and I think as Provost CEO Keith Curry made the point. And I think it's really important to keep in mind the difference between the AB 319 FCMAT process and the accreditation process. And so today's progress and the FCMAT report really speaks to the FCMAT piece of that and the provisions of 318. But in terms of the accreditation process, I know that both El Camino and Compton Center, Provost Curry, have had conversations with ACCJC and have worked to lay out timelines and roadmaps on that. And maybe a good place for us to start is just provide as much sunshine on that as possible to illuminate that issue, to put it on the table, and then we can talk about it from there.
So we've been working with the Accrediting Commission since 2000 for the last couple of years as relates to the process. As President Maloney mentioned in her comments, President Maloney outlined the process as relates to the first step in the process is which is consistent with the Accrediting Commission's guidelines for initial accreditation for new institutions. The first step is submitting a eligibility application, which shows that you meet the eligibility requirements for the 21 eligibility requirements. Once you have submitted your eligibility application and it's approved, the next step in the process is submitting a self-evaluation report and an application for candidacy to the Accrediting Commission. And that's the step that we're at right now for the Compton Center. And that is due on January 6, 2017, with a visit on March 6 through the 9th, 2017. The next step in that process for initial accreditation would be to file another self-evaluation in 2019, and then in the June of 2019, that's when the Accrediting Commission will also come back out to do a site visit, and also at their June meeting would make a decision as relates to initial accreditation.
And the timeline is really laid out in the guidelines by ACCJC, no less than 2, no more than 4 years. Those kinds of things are in those guidelines to guide colleges and centers as they move from a center to an accredited institution. So that's sort of the timeline, and we have worked closely with ACCJC as it relates to the timeline, knowing what the next step is and how we move forward.
And as we work on this process, our self-evaluation report will be close to 300 pages. And it has involved over 50 individuals on our site to prepare this document, but also have the documentation to support the statements that are made in the self-evaluation report. It is a large task that we have taken on, but if you look at the progress we have made, I think we have been successful to where we're at right now as it relates to our self-evaluation report.
The other thing, if I might add, is that the writing of the report, although that is a major task, isn't the biggest part of it. It is actually putting into place the processes, the procedures, the structures, the governance practices, the committees, all of that. That's what takes the time, is to build the institution so that it does meet the standards. The writing of the report and the providing of the evidence comes after that. So it does take time to make those things happen.
I just want to raise a question, because one anxiety I'd have, because I was thinking that's such a long time, as we are in the process of evaluating the future of accreditation for California community colleges, if we go with a different model, could it even be longer? Because if there's a different model, that new model is going to have to absorb all 113 colleges ultimately at the same time. I don't know, and so that's just an anxiety I have. Could it possibly even be a longer process with a different accreditation?
Yeah, but I appreciate you laying out the process, because you lost the accreditation in 2005, so that means it took 10, 11 years to get kind of back up and running, and then it'll take another 5 years. So it'll be 15 years in the wilderness before you even begin the accreditation process. And as we consider whether or not we're going to continue with our current accreditor, I think it's a consideration for this body. that seems to be an unreasonable timeframe when you've seen such steady improvement, and a campus that's not brand new. This is not like you're starting from scratch. So anyway, I appreciate you outlining that process.
Member Haynes?
So I just want to first off, commend everyone and all of your hard work. I was around when AB 318 was introduced as well as when it was passed. And 10 years is a long time. And so while I truly appreciate all of the steps that everyone has gone through to get to this point, I keep thinking if we had 3 campuses, and I know there are other campuses that might be on the precipice of challenges, could the system handle, would the system handle that in the same way of 10 years?
Yeah.
And so this probably is not the place to sort of do a look at what could have been done differently in this 10 years to help to move, and maybe we have processes within the Board of Governors, resources that would allow for a much more expedited process. But I'm really concerned about that. The other is, and there's probably somebody else who is better able, but having done some work with the accreditation workforce, not the workforce, but the advisory group, there are 2 workforces that the CEOs are taking on. And so this is the reality. The entity named ACCJC is the entity that is going to be around, but however, the CEOs are working to make certain that there are resources, it's working out expectations, providing training, all of those things to make it work much more efficiently. The president, CEO of ACCJC is going to be retiring. There is a lot of work that has to happen there, but it is not going away and can't go away in the next few days, next few weeks, next few months, because the accreditation process has to continue. This is the largest system in the country and possibly in the world, and so we really do have to have a system of peer review, and we need to make it over these years while we're trying to figure out if and when we transition, what that transition looks like. So we have to make this one better as we go along. So we're sort of building sort of 2 houses and a bridge so that we can bridge over. And so I don't want anyone under the illusion that ACCJC is going away anytime soon. But what I can say is there are a lot of folks working to make certain that it actually meets the needs of the colleges that have to go through this process, and it has not been a very good one in the past for many of the colleges.
Member Belinsky.
I'll start off by saying thank you for all of your hard work over the years and your willingness to keep Compton and your willingness to serve the students. But I do have a couple of questions from what we've been talking about here in order to have better clarity. And the first question is, in what year was it that the FCMAT team said, you've resolved everything, you've got a clean slate here, you're good to go?
In 2012 was the personnel, and in 2013 academic achievement, and then with our report that was just issued last month, August 2016, the other 3 operational areas met the rating standards.
So it started in 2012. So the question then becomes, did you wait until 2012 to start the accreditation process, such that then a report was filed in 2015? Meaning that the accreditation process wasn't this long time period that you started it. Did you wait until FCMAT was saying, you've got everything clean?
Actually, the work that begun on the self-evaluation begun in 2010. The work on the self-evaluation begun in 2000. For eligibility, yes.
But then you submitted it such that you knew.
Yeah, because there were, I want to say this in the nicest way because I know I'm being recorded, is that there, and please no one take my comments the wrong way. We had problems, right? So if you look at from 2005 to 2010, we're trying to figure this whole thing out regards to new partnership and new relationships. But also, too, we had to put committees together, get people involved. Right. And we started to really push in the fall of the spring of 2013. And we started pushing as relates to our eligibility application. But it took a lot of work to get to that point. But also, too, I do want to say that the Credit Commission helped us and helped guide us through that process as relates to our eligibility application. Not only did Barbara Bino come to our campus to do a presentation a couple times, but also her staff came out. And so we were in direct communication with the Credit Commission. So if you look at where we started, to be able to get an eligibility application approved and move to the next step, yes, it might have taken a longer time than anticipated, but to be where we're at now, that's a success story.
Right,
Yes.
thank you.
Yes.
And I've got just one last question. How many students are you currently serving?
11,000. And so our enrollment has declined at the Compton Center, and we've been working on that. So we have some new programs, new initiatives. One is our new cosmetology program. Think about this. We started this program this summer. We've been working on developing the program, getting the facilities together. We didn't start enrollment till this summer. First day of school, the morning program, full. The evening program, full. That's going to be a successful program at the Compton Center. We're working also with the City of Compton to implement a fire academy as a continuation of the El Camino program to be able to provide that in fall of 2017. We're also working with our local school districts. We're offering more classes after school at our local high schools within our district. We have high schools in our district in 2005, 2006 didn't work with us. Right. Didn't work with us at all. Now we're offering classes in Compton Unified School District and Linwood Unified School District. We opened a new high school within Compton Unified School District, our early college high school that opened in the fall of 2015. The first high school in the city of Compton to open since 1957. Do the math on that. That's a success story. So when you look at the relationship with El Camino College and the timing of where we're at now, I don't know about you, but whenever I think about it, it's a success story. I'm from Compton, born and raised. I've seen that college move forward. I was a ball boy for the football team when I was 12 years old. And to see where we're at now, still able to provide educational services, Compton Community College was founded in 1927. Do the math. In 2017, that's 90 years of providing educational opportunities within our community, even though the accreditation of the college was revoked. We're still providing educational opportunities. That's because of AB 318, that's because of the partnership with the Chancellor's Office, and also the partnership with El Camino College. 90 years of providing educational opportunities.
Thank you, and again, congratulations.
Thank you.
I want to let the Chancellor say a word, and then we'll go to Member Sumner.
I just wanted to note that, as we take stock of the progress that's been made, I think it's important to keep in mind that it has taken a while, and it's because there were some fundamental problems that needed to be addressed. And the reality is, it probably would have been easier and more easier and faster to have built this center and work towards a college from scratch if there was nothing there. But the problem was that there was a crater. I mean, when they lost their accreditation, it was because there were some fundamental problems with the way that college was operating. It was also what happened when that accreditation was lost. It was devastating to that community, both the campus personnel and also the surrounding community. It created an upheaval, and it took a while, I think, to work through that. There were the complexities of partnering with El Camino, and I think really the success story from those early days was that they found a way to keep serving students. They kept their doors open. Despite all the chaos that was underway, they kept their doors open and found a way to keep serving students. But that was a very disruptive period, and you've got at the table up there one of the state's experts in fiscal crisis in the K-12 world, but also the community college world in Tom Henry. You've got other people there who have become experts on it in recent years. And the reality is when an institution collapses like that, the recovery process is a long one. And I think the last thing I'll say is that I really think it was a failure on the part of the state for not identifying that earlier and for not intervening earlier. And it was before I joined the system. I joined the Chancellor's office in 2007, so this happened before I was there. But we need to do a better job as a system of identifying it when one of our colleges is on the ropes and having challenges. And the quicker we can get in there and intervene and through various mechanisms, but help them turn around earlier, then there's less damage to have to repair. And I think that's fundamentally what the Institutional Effectiveness Partnership initiative is about. I think we've got other success initiatives underway that will help. But I do think the state failed in this case. And I think, I wish we had done a better job of intervening more quickly. And I think we're building systems now that will allow us to do so in the future. And for now, I guess the important thing for the panel to hear, this board is anxious to return local control. This board is anxious to get that college back on its feet. So whatever you can do to expedite that, whatever we can do to work with the various partners underway, this board wants to expedite that. And I know all of you have been working hard to move it forward as quickly as possible as well. But just listen to what you're hearing here, and that there's a enthusiasm about forward progress.
Yes.
Member Sumner?
I was going to say, it's nice to have a breath of fresh air to say, yeah, we had some problems and we're fixing it, and just to look at you, it's such a great success. This letter that he gave to us, could you touch a little bit more on it, some of their concerns that they had? Do you have a copy of the letter?
I know.
I was just sort of curious because, we always like to hear both sides, and if you could touch on some of this. I'm excited about the programs you have, the cosmetology, things that are happening, but he put a lot of passion and thought into this letter, so could you just touch on that a little bit?
Yeah, I don't have a problem. I can be brief. Last spring of 2015, we embarked on developing a mission statement, mission, vision, and strategic initiatives for the Compton Center and Future Compton Community College. And it's under our board policy 1200. And what the policy talks about is the future direction of the college and where we're headed. So as we look at our Law and Road programs, we have several programs on our campus that are Law and Road. What I mean by Law and Road is they're averaging less than 12 to 15 students within their program, and students are not enrolled in those courses. So we had developed a task force to review the Law and Road programs, and the Law and Road programs that were reviewed, some were mentioned by Professor Yahi, but they had to provide a plan to the task force on September 6th, and the task force is meeting sometime this month to review those plans, and from those plans, we'll be able to provide recommendations. And all the programs that were Law and Road submitted their plans by the September 6th. But this gives us an opportunity to look at our Law and Road programs, but also to figure out what do we do in the future to help build those programs up, but also looking at our new direction. Our board policy 1200 talks about increasing the number of courses offering new courses in the health sciences. So one of the programs that's being looked at is the vocational nursing program at the Compton Center, and also the CNA program, Certified Nursing Assistant program, are being looked at, but also new programs in manufacturing. So if your enrollment is down, has been in certain programs, how do you increase to new programs that's based off of your environmental scan regards to what students in our community want to take? So right now we're just having some conversations to figure out the future direction, but it's all based off our board policy 1200, which is a requirement for accreditation as relates to your mission, vision, and strategic initiatives, as it relates to your integrated planning process at Compton and how you make decisions.
I just want to say, it sounds like you're walking the talk.
Yeah.
I try.
And also related to that is the use of data and analyzing, which again is, being institutionally effective and making sure that you're following processes that do that.
Well, I want to thank you all for coming. We had the opportunity as a Board of Governors to visit El Camino and Compton 6 years ago, and it was very bleak at the time. And I remember those classrooms that date back to the just post-war era, and to know that there hasn't been any improvement since then is quite alarming. So, but to hear the encouragement from the FCMAT report that you have been found clear, declared a clean bill of health, has provided a path forward, and we want to support you every step of the way. We want to get you back onto your own autonomy and off the back of the Chancellor's office and our colleagues here. And we thank El Camino for stepping in and providing that institutional support that's so necessary to keep it going. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
We will do just two more items, which I think are more procedural. We're going to go to the first reading, the item 3.1 and 3.2, on the nomination of board officers for the coming year. So our bylaws allow board members to serve as officers for two one-year terms. So that, thank goodness, renders me ineligible to continue to serve as president for another term. It also makes Member Estolano ineligible to serve as vice president for another year. I asked our council in the past, we've taken nominations from the floor, and I've asked, we've had nominations and then second. But then what we do is we leave nominations then open till November, when you can't have a second. So I think we can dispense with requesting a second and just take nominations for the floor. So I'm going to call for nominations for president of the Board of Governors, and then we will act on those nominations at the November meeting. So I saw a hand over there, Member Khan. I'd solicit a nomination for president of the board.
Yes, I nominate Cecilia Estolano for president of the Board of Governors of California.
And then are there any other nominations for president of the Board of Governors? We will note that as part of the first. The nominations will remain open till the meeting, but Member Estolano, your name has been placed in nomination for president of the board, and I hope you're willing to stand for election as president of the board. Okay, we will now turn to the nomination for vice president of members of the board. Member Hawkins.
Thank you, President Baum. I nominate Joseph Belinsky, Jr.
Member Belinsky has been placed in nomination for vice president of the board. Are there any other nominations for vice president of the board?
And I'm going to nominate Tom Epstein.
Member Avalos has placed Member Epstein in nomination for president of the board. Are there vice president of the board? Are there any other nominations for vice president of the board?
I nominate Connie Conway.
I forgot to say, first off, Member Belinsky, are you willing to accept nomination? Member Epstein, are you willing to accept nomination? Member Conway, are you willing to accept nomination as vice president of the board?
I don't even know what I'm going to be doing. I really appreciate that. I'm brand new, and I think we have two other good nominees, so thank you.
So, are you declining?
I am.
The nomination?
I am.
Appreciate that. Are there any other nominations at this time? Okay, so we have two members of the board. I actually always think it's terrific the more board members who are willing to step forward and put themselves for leadership and officer opportunities. So I'm delighted. Nominations will remain open until we bring this up for a second reading and action at the November meeting.
So I can change my mind between that. No.
Yeah, does anybody want to nominate Debbie or Gary or Scott while they're not here? Valerie?
Nominate everybody that isn't here.
Well, we can take that up in the November meeting. The next item is item 3.2, the meeting dates for 2018. Chancellor Skinner, there are some recommendations on meeting dates. We have already adopted our 2017 schedule, correct?
That's correct. President Baum, members of the board, this is a first reading for the proposed calendar for 2018. So it's a chance for you to look this over and discuss it, and it will come back to you at the next board meeting for final approval. The general format here doesn't, it follows the model we've been using the last couple of years, no big changes. We've shifted meetings towards a little bit later in the month to avoid some kind of regular conflicts. So that said, the dates are before you.
Okay, so if there's any feedback on these or discussion, I'd welcome any discussion or input from the board. Otherwise, we will take this up at our November board meeting. I did have a request from a board member who just, if you could refresh our memory, have we selected a meeting location for our campus visit for 2017? Do we know that?
Let us look that up, and I do not I do not recall. I don't
Doesn't-
believe we have, but.
It says location to be determined.
Yeah, we have not.
And-
That comes as a board item, I think maybe at the November.
Okay, so it-
Or either November or January, so we haven't decided that.
Okay.
It's open then, yeah.
Okay, if there's, so those are the two first reading items, action to be taken at the November meeting. We still have yet to do the items on foster youth. We'll take item 2.6 and 4.1 together, and then we will take our federal and state legislative update, as well as our foundation recognition and impact report accreditation and ADT reports. I think, given that it's almost 5 o'clock, we will adjourn the meeting for tonight, and we will reconvene at what time tomorrow?
9 o'clock.
We'll
9 o'clock.
Reconvene in this room
Yes.
Correct, right here.
at 9 o'clock tomorrow. And is it okay to leave any papers?
You can leave everything. Yeah, they'll lock it up.
Okay. We are in recess until 9 o'clock tomorrow morning.
So where are we going?
There's a shuttle waiting right out here for those going to Morgan's on 2, Morgan's on 2, Morgan's on 2, Morgan's on